A song is like a story. So you have all kinds of events happening at different times, and these events relate to one another. And how you make a transition from one event to the other well, determines how you tell the story. So in mixing, I like to keep an overview of this storyline by creating a roadmap for my mix. Sometimes I just do it in my mind, but in other cases, especially if the music gets more complex, I like to write stuff down. So in this case, I have an example here of a song by Borneman, and he actually makes life easy for me because his music somehow sounds cinematic to me. So I see actual events happening or images flashing before my eyes when I hear his music. So I listen to this guide mix, and the images that pop up and the ideas that arise during that first listen, I try to write down. So I have this little sketchbook, and writing down isn't like creating entire essays. It's just like very schematic small images or arrows that reflect which events are going to take place. And that helps me to make decisions about what the mix should sound like later on. So for instance, when I first heard his song, it starts like this. So let me play you a short section. So this is Robin's guide mix.
This is your conscience speaking. Find your way through the shallow pit.
Now, when I first heard that, I was impressed because it sounds nice, but I also got an idea. So you hear the voice come in, and the voice sounds from above, and that also has a lot to do with the lyrics. This is your conscience speaking. So I got the idea that the voice doesn't need to be like a pop vocal which is straight in front of you, but needs to be your conscience which is actually speaking to you. And for the rest of it, I like the sound, I like the balance between instruments, I like the atmosphere. So I tried not to change too many things. So my mix sounds like this, and it's mainly got to do with vocal sound.
This is your conscience speaking. Find your way through the shallow pits. The road lies there before thee. Don't look back, and the sun will shine for you. Long have you suffered freedom. Long have you lived.
So they sound pretty alike. That changed when I heard the next section, because if you listen to the next section, there's a more clear drum beat going on, and it has a lot of energy already in the guide mix. So let me play that for you. These vocals in the guide mix, I thought that's what that section would need to be about. They are very church-like, and to me the section was sounding a bit too lifelike. I wanted to make it more abstract, so I made some decisions about turning down rhythmic elements and emphasizing atmospheric elements. So the piano is much more important in the mix I eventually created. So let me play that for you. if you only do like short-term comparisons like I do now, those decisions can be difficult to make because my mix has less sonic impact, less energy than Robin's guide mix because I turned down the drums. It's tempting to always go for sonic impact if you do short-term comparisons because, well, energy sounds better usually. The mix roadmap enables me to make a decision to turn things down. Now for the next section, Robin already had a clear idea and you can hear it in his mix, so let me play you the transition.
All I ever find is a state of mind.
So you hear the sound transforming from something very big into something very personal and small. The only thing that didn't work for me is that it gets personal and small, but it also gets soft. And that's just a difficult thing to do if you create music that has to come across in other circumstances than a purposely built studio. You can't rely on volume too much because then a lot of detail will get lost. So what I want to do is create something that sounds just as intimate or even more intimate, but doesn't sound as soft. So let me play you the transition I made.
All I ever find is a state of mind I cannot define. Let the darkness shine. All I ever find.
So I try to emphasize the aspects of the sound that make it intimate, and I want to rely more on contrast instead of volume to make the transition work. And now we're arriving at the main transition in the song. From this very small intimate setting, we're gonna go to the main impact moment. The section starts to morph into something way more dark, and at the end of this morph, there is like a huge hit, and then the new dark section starts. So let me play you a bit of that transition in the original. So that's the main moment for me, let the darkness shine. So basically I know this is going to be, in terms of energy, the highest part of the song. And I will do anything in my power to make it as powerful as possible. So I basically used every trick in the book. Later on I'll show you a couple of these tricks in the video. But for now, just let me play you the transition so you can hear the difference. So what I did is I had to create something that is very loud, and in order to create loudness, you need high frequencies and high mid frequencies. Our ears are most sensitive in that area, and also higher harmonics of sounds that are being played loud are in that frequency area. So in order to create loudness, you need high frequencies, but it also needs to sound dark. And to create darkness, you need low frequencies and reverb. So these two aren't really made for each other. It's usually dark and not too loud, or it's loud and bright, so less dark. So I emphasized the elements that create loudness, and in this case that's mainly the electric guitars and the piano. They have a lot of harmonics in them, and I created even more by adding a lot of distortion to them. So I want to make as much density as possible, and that will create the feeling of loudness. And the darkness is mainly in the drum beat and the acoustics that the drums are placed in. So I tried, on the other hand, to create as much size for the drums as possible.